You're watching the hard facts from the CNN News 18 Federal Bank Studios. Viewers, what a day. What a day it has been. The forgettable headline made us feel small, inadequate, fragile. It was as if India was on the brink of collapse on that fateful day in 1991. Viewers, look to the right of you and you will see the headline. On that day, the government of India had to hypothecate the nation's gold reserves in exchange for a bailout. As we know, Indians have an emotional relationship with gold. Selling gold has been mythicized as the ultimate slap in the face. So when this morning we woke up to the news that India had brought back 100 tons of its gold reserves lying in UK banks, we all felt 100 feet tall. This was the first time we had brought back gold reserves in such a large quantity since a very long time, viewers. The move underlines India's rising economic confidence. Just the other day, the RBI even paid out a massive dividend to the Indian government, which will no doubt be dispersed against welfare measures. And as we all basked in the golden light of our latest import, came the doubly delightful news that the Indian economy was growing at a rapid pace. We'll talk a little bit about that. But first, viewers, let's focus a little bit on this big story about the gold returning to us. Why does it matter so much? It matters because it underlines, as I told you, the robustness of the growing Indian economy, testament to the nation's economic confidence and the diversification of foreign exchange reserves. It could also, of course, save storage fees that are paid abroad, especially to the United Kingdom, to store this gold. Now, viewers, as I told you, as we were basking in this reflected glory, this golden light, so to speak, the numbers on the economy have also come in. And viewers, the news was delightful because it tells us that the economy is growing at a rapid pace, and you can see those numbers on your screens year after year, viewers. 8.2% closing out the financial year. The government will no doubt claim credit and also vindication. And there are, of course, if you really look at the numbers, you go into the micro details of it, you will see, viewers, that this is a overall well spread out resurgence. Let's get a sense of what this means, viewers. Let's open this up. Let's have a conversation because, as you know, this election is not over. We still have the last phase. And people, of course, will be voting tomorrow. They will be going in with this knowledge. On the one hand, Dr. Ranganathan, we're also going to be joined by Professor Mehrotra. But let me tell you, on the one hand, Dr. Ranganathan, we have this sort of constant droning noise, let's put it like that India, its economy is floundering. Many people are out scrounging around for scraps. There is poverty, there is no doubt about that, but we've also lifted millions out of it. That under Mr. Modi, there has been a complete dereliction of duty. Now, all these numbers are sort of coming through. How does this juxtapose against that criticism?
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Look, it's very simple. As they say, it's the economy, stupid. One can say that there are cultural reasons, there are castes, arithmetics or chemistry or whatever that wins elections. No. At the end of the day, it is the economy. And the way you've come through over the last 5 or 10 years in the economic parameters that the world considers should be the ones that should be monitored. Essentially 5 or 6. If you were to look at just beyond that, not just 5 or 6, because I'll narrate that story as well, you would see that the Indian economy is on a bounce, and I speak as a layman, not as an economist. You have other panelists who are much more well versed with the machinations of economics. But what does the layman see? The layman sees that the GST monthly collection has been the highest ever at 2.1 lakh crores. That would not have been the case had the nation not been prospering and the economy not in good hands. The layman sees that the exports are at a 20-month high of 12%. The layman sees that the index of industrial production is at a 1-year high of 5.8%. The layman goes out, wants to buy vehicles. The layman sees that vehicle sales are at highest ever at 4.2 million units. The inequality is at a record low of 0.40 Gini coefficient. The layman sees that income tax returns are highest ever at 68 million. The layman, if he or she is a banker, sees the net NPA ratio is at a 10-year low of 3.9%. And is all this being made out of helicopter money, as they say? No, the layman sees that the debt to GDP ratio is at a 4-year low of 85%. But the most important things, the layman sees that the unemployment is at a record low of 3.1%. The layman sees that NSS, PLFS, LBD shows total employed workers in India now stands at 582 million. This means that 85 million jobs were created between 2014 and 2022, not counting the last 2 years post-COVID boom. The forex is at an all-time high of 650 billion. The inflation is at a 6-month low of 4.8%. And finally, the layman, if he is investing in the stock, sees that a Sensex that was 25,000 in 2014 is today at an all-time high of 75,500. Now you tell me, this is what the layman is seeing. What is an expert seeing? I leave it to you and the experts.
Well, that was quite comprehensive for somebody who's not an economist by training. So at least you've zeroed in on some of the macro numbers. Let me bring in Professor Mehrotra and also Sanju Verma. Sanju Verma, of course, has been a banker, so she knows the financial system in and out. But let me bring in Professor Mehrotra, because Professor Mehrotra, look, we all woke up to this great news that India is getting its gold back, 100 tons back from the UK, the largest such shipment coming back in a very, very long time. Clearly, this is a sign of marked confidence. It's happening under the Modi government. And also, of course, you see these numbers that have come in, NSO data. And the NSO data is telling us that, look, we've grown at 8.2% for the last fiscal year, financial year.
So you now want me to respond?
Yes, please, if you're well prepared, that is.
It goes without saying that I'm extremely well prepared, sir.
Yeah.
So first of all, GDP growth rate. No economist, serious economist, actually believes that one quarter's 8.4% growth is what it is going to be, firstly. Secondly, still remaining on the GDP growth, please remember that these GDP growth numbers are merely capturing the organized sector of the economy. They are not capturing the unorganized sector of the economy, because 3 policy delivered shocks were delivered to the economy by the government. First, demand in 2016, then a poorly planned and designed GST in 2017, and as a result, the growth slowed down dramatically every quarter until the lockdown, the national lockdown at 4 hours notice, and that led to a contraction of the economy. All of this resulted in a contraction of the unorganized sector and the MSME sector, which is supposed to contribute some 85% of jobs and number of enterprises in the whole economy. If those contracted and the government is not releasing any data about it, how can we be sure about these numbers being actually reliable of growth rate? Because they are based essentially only on organized sector, not the unorganized sector. Let me turn to inequality. We've just learned from a solid study, the best study that I've seen on inequality, Please remember, give me time because you gave Mr. Raghunath a lot of time. Inequality, I will deal each one of those with points. The worst inequality in 100 years. And if you don't believe me, please send me the email numbers of all your colleagues and I will send you that study.
Who is it by?
Professor Piketty is the world's best known, and I have sent it. Ha ha ha.
Oh my
the answer,
God.
ha ha ha.
The next is Mani
because
Shankar Iyer.
you are not, neither of you are economists. Don't interrupt me. I did not interrupt
let him
you.
finish.
I'm not going to be part of this debate.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Yes, move on. I didn't even interrupt you. You can't even allow me to laugh. What is this? Are you in dictatorship?
Okay, let him finish. Let him finish. Yes.
Is Rahul Gandhi your prime minister already?
Okay, Dr. Ranganathan, 1 second. Let him finish. He's in Piketty we trust, he says. Let's move on. He's making a third point. Come on. Let's listen.
Can't even smile.
Debt to GDP ratio we were told about. In 2014, this government inherited a debt to GDP ratio of 58%. It is now 82%. The total debt of this government, which it inherited, was 55 lakh crores. It stands just for the central government at 165 lakh crores. That's 3 times what it inherited. Employment, we are told, PLFS data says 3.1%. It is totally non-believable. Why is it that the CMIE data shows that youth unemployment is running at 44% and overall unemployment is running at 10%. The 3.1%, let me finish, Rahul, may I? Because you gave a lot of time to Mr.
I gave him 3 minutes. I gave him 3 minutes, you've taken 7.
Unpaid family labor. Unpaid family labor. And 60 million workers were added to agriculture. Is agriculture work? The young and educated don't think agriculture is work. 60 million workers were added in the last 3 years alone. All on account of the stupid policies, the shocks that were inflicted upon the economy.
Now I just want to, since we talked about Mr. Piketty, I just want to make one little interjection before Sanju Verma comes in. I just want viewers to know that a large part of Mr. Piketty's original study was funded by George Soros.
Rubbish.
I don't need
rubbish.
Of course it is
utter
true.
And complete rubbish.
Okay, let's not, don't bark at me. It's on his website, please. I mean, for God's sakes.
And don't use the word bark, Mr. Shah.
Well, you are attacking me for no rubbish. Why are you attacking me? Why are you saying rubbish?
Because you've got your facts wrong.
Well, you can just say that you've got your facts wrong. And I will tell you where I got them from. Please go and look at his website. He mentions that he has been funded.
You question the facts.
I'm questioning the facts.
Don't question where the money came from.
I'm only saying that the money came from George Soros, who is not really a happy campaigner for this government
questioning
or
his result?
for India. Anyhow, look, you might put Piketty on a pedestal. There are other people who think he's quite a rickety, economist. He's a communist he's a communist. He's a communist by outlook. It's okay. It's fine.
You are showing your colors.
It's okay. But he's called the modern Marx. I don't call him the modern Marx.
Who said so? Utter nonsense.
Rahul, you have
a large number of economists have called him the modern Marx. I'll bring out the quote for you.
Complete rubbish.
Okay, sir. It's fine. Everything that comes out of one particular ecosystem is the truth and everything. But anyhow, yes, Sanju Verma.
Thank you. And Rahul, if you notice, I did not heckle Mr. Mehrotra even once. And you know, Mr. Ranganathan and me were only laughing. And I think that is admissible because, we are not living in draconian times. So I hope Mr. Mehrotra will cool down rather than getting so agitated. And now I take strong offense to him saying neither of you is economist. You know, Mr. Ranganathan will defend himself, but Mr. Mehrotra, I'm a bona fide economist. I worked in the world's biggest, as an investment banker. So please don't give me lectures on what I am or I am not. Have you heard the name JP Morgan? आपको JP Morgan के अंदर एंट्री भी नहीं मिलेगी सर, इसलिए शांत हो जाइए. Now let me complete. Now listen. Now you better listen because you have this habit of lying with a straight face, and I will call out each of your lies because I understand numbers better than most of the people that you have the pleasure of debating with. First and foremost, Rahul, are you done laughing, I will not ask you to stop.
It's okay. Let him be.
Let him laugh. Continue.
You can laugh.
Let him laugh.
I can't laugh.
Let him laugh. It doesn't matter. Make your points,
Yes.
please.
Thank you. First and
Why did you
foremost,
object to us laughing? Why did you object to us laughing?
I'm
Now
not
you are laughing.
objecting. I did not object.
Arey, move on. Rahul, this
Rahul, can I-
Yadav.
Okay, please.
can I
Sanju
please?
Verma.
You know,
Sanju Verma. Go
this
ahead.
is an important debate. I did not
It is
heckle
very
any of the
important.
gentlemen.
Very important.
Yes,
Let's
thank
get on
you.
with it. Yeah.
Let's not lose sight of the woods for the trees and trivialize the phenomenal achievements of the last couple of years on the economy front that we've had the pleasure of witnessing right now, right here. First and foremost, the GDP growth this year is provisionally estimated to have grown at 8.2%. In FY23, it grew at 7%, and the financial year prior to that, it grew at 9.7%. Tell me one country in the world, one major economy, after facing two black swan events. There was the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and prior to that, you had the worst pandemic, the COVID, in more than 100 years. Despite two debilitating black swan events, India is the only major economy to have consistently grown at more than 7.5%, which is the 3-year average. 3-year average will actually be closer to 8% or even more. The most important point are two things which keep coming up in every discussion. Inflation bahut hai. So let me tell you, let's not go by the inflation number 4.83, last month, and prior to that 4.85, or that wholesale inflation is only 1.26% after having been negative for the longest time. Let's talk about averages, because picking up one number from 1 month does not give you the true picture. The average inflation under Narendra Modi in the last 10 years is 5.1%. The average inflation under the Congress-led UPA from 2004 to 2014 was 9.1%. Point number one. Unemployment, people say 3.1% is a figure which I don't believe. So let's talk very quickly in 10 seconds. Let's talk hard numbers. Every month, if you take EPFO and ESIC data, 28 lakh subscribers get added, which means every year 3.36 crore subscribers get added, which means in the last 10 years 33.6 crore subscribers got added. Let us round that up to 34 crore subscribers. Now naysayers might say, not everybody who gets added onto the EPF or ESIC payroll is a person who's getting job for the first time. There could be double counting, yes.
True.
There could be people who are just getting redeployed and not getting employed for the first time. That is why I say don't take the 34 crore figure on face. Just take a conversion rate of 63%. If you take a conversion rate of 63%, it means in the last 10 years, 21.7 crore, roughly 22 crore people have got jobs. And in this, I'm not counting mudra. I'm not counting, jobs that are, that the job growth that is seen. Say, if a doctor says, मैं 2 nurses or 2 assistant hire karunga, or say a small, sweetmeat shop says, I need 2 more assistants. We are not talking of these people. So first and foremost, 22 crore jobs created in the last 10 years. I gave the data. Now, despite a debilitating COVID, the highest inflation under the Narendra Modi government was in April 2022, 7.79%. The highest inflation under the Congress-led UPA was in November 2013, 14.72%, despite no black swan event. Now let us talk about FDI. The FDI in the last 10 years, from 2004 to 2014 under the Congress, was $300 billion roughly. Under the BJP-led Narendra Modi government, it's $650 billion plus. Now let me tell you, GDP, real GDP in numbers was 91 lakh crore in 2013. Today, real GDP at constant prices is 174 lakh crore. True. Which means real GDP at constant prices in the last 10 years of the Modi government has seen a phenomenal 91% jump. And last but not the least, I will wind up by saying this. The two biggest controversies are, external debt बढ़ गया, external debt बढ़ गया. नहीं भाई साहब, our overall debt to GDP is 83%. But anyone who has an iota of common sense knows that the central government debt to GDP is only 57%. And why should India not be scared despite a 83% debt to GDP? Because our GDP is not denominated in dollars. It is denominated in our home currency, in Indian rupees. That is why we are insulated from any kind of an external debt bubble. Whereas be it Japan, be it China, be it United States, be it Australia, their debt is denominated in dollars. And by the way, Mr. Santosh Mehrotra, let me tell you something else. What the world is talking about today is the fact that under the Congress, we had the twin deficit problem. We had fiscal deficit and current account deficit. If you strip out the COVID years, India's fiscal deficit average is 5.4%.
That's true.
Under the Congress, last point. Under the Congress, current account deficit average was 4.9%. And do you know, Rahul, the current account deficit under Narendra Modi, average of last 10 years is 1.3%. We do not have the twin deficit problem which existed.
Let me come back to you on this point. Look, there is also data which suggests, and this is government data, which also suggests that there are many more people seeking Manrega wages. So obviously there is some distress in the rural sector. But before you answer that, I just want to, since I've been accused of spreading rubbish, viewers, you see, there is another magazine called The Economist. Now, unless we believe it is economical with the truth, let me tell you one of its own headlines. This is on Mr. Piketty. A modern Marx is what The Economist designated him. And it's not just The Economist, viewers. There are several other top world economists, so to speak, Mr. Krugman and others, who called him a modern Marx. Not just that, NDTV in 2016, which is Mr. Mehrotra's and some of the Congress ecosystem and beyond, their favorite channel, at least in those days when the so-called Adani hadn't taken over, even they called him the modern Marx, quoting two other top economists. So viewers, I don't spread rubbish. These are the hard facts. Now you can contest that, you may agree, you may disagree, that's your call, but I'm only just talking about what usually people refer to him as. And Dr. Ranganathan, let me also say, do you think I'm being provocative in the extreme or simplistic if I say that the man was funded? I only said that. I don't know why people are reading so many motives into it. I just said he's funded, interestingly, by George Soros. At least his research for the first time, his first book, was largely funded by him, and this is something that he's accepted, and he's written there, I owe a debt of gratitude to George Soros. He's written it in his own book. Now, I mean, I don't know, I've read the book actually. I made the mistake of reading Piketty's book. But I like to read what other people on the other side of the fence, so to say, have said about certain things. So I read it. Yes. Go ahead.
Now, one thing I would look, Rahul, I went off first, thanks to you. I did not take anyone's name.
No.
I just gave out the data. I did not denigrate anyone. All I did at the end, without taking any names, was to smile and laugh at something. That's all. Would you call that interruption? Would you call that a reason, theatre for somebody to, blow his top? The problem with these mediocre people is that the only thing lower than their credibility is their intelligence.
Okay.
I'm very thankful that this man has retired, because his students are, new students are saying, we don't want to be professor.
Professor Mehrotra. Okay, let's set it aside.
He doesn't believe in anything.
Okay,
only
forget all this.
Yogendra Yadav, Mani Shankar Iyer, that clique.
Yeah.
They are the ones who calculate GDP all sitting all night long. This is Sasta Yogendra Yadav, and he must be shown his place.
Okay.
You've taken
Ambridge. Okay, you guys can. Okay, gentlemen, you guys can take this. You can take your differences, etc., somewhere else. But I just want to quickly get back to Mr. Mehrotra. Mr. Mehrotra, isn't it a fact that the GDP revision of the methodology is long overdue? I'm sure you would agree. Number one. Number two, I just want you to tell me if in this particular data hasn't been mentioned that manufacturing has grown by 10%. If that has actually happened, it would stand to reason that somebody would be employed by those manufacturers to make goods and offer services. That would mean that jobs are being actually created. Now, they may not be getting created at the pace you like them to be created, but to say that there are no jobs, etc., I think is a bit of an overreaction. That's my question to you, sir.
Okay, I hope you will give me a chance to respond to you. Mr. Shiv Shankar. So I will start where you finished about manufacturing and manufacturing jobs. Let me just put the numbers on the table. In 2012, just before this government took over, there were 60 million workers in manufacturing in India. In 5 years' time, that number was down to 55 million. Okay, an absolute decline in the total number of workers that had never taken place. For the next 4 years, we never caught up to the 2012 manufacturing employment. Secondly, manufacturing's contribution to GDP in 2013-14, when the current government came to power, was 17%. In the last 5 years, it fell systematically to 13% of GDP. It has only in the last 2 years that it has climbed back up to 17% that this government inherited. What is the meaning of this? The meaning is that in respect of manufacturing output and manufacturing employment, we have seen a lost decade.
Okay.
Secondly,
Rahul, can I quickly come in, please?
You made, I'm only responding.
Make your point, second point. Yes.
Yeah. FDI, if I might.
Okay.
FDI as a proportion of GDP under this government in 10 years, despite the absolute numbers that were cited by both the other speakers.
Yes, sir.
Has never exceeded 2% of GDP.
Okay. Okay. That's where, now let the other side respond. You made two interventions. Let the other side respond. Yes, Sanju Verma. 1 minute, please. I need to move on. Yeah.
Rahul, let's be very clear. Jairam Ramesh and, the entire cabal which does not understand difference between GDP and GNP have been saying, Narendra Modi changed the methodology. What Narendra Modi did was that the base year of GDP, rather than being 2004-05, it was made 2010-11.
Yes.
And in developed countries like US, UK, Australia, can you please keep quiet now? Why are you heckling? Can you extend the same courtesy to me? Rahul, can I...
Let her finish her point.
Factual mistake.
No, there is no mistake. Please keep quiet. If there's a mistake, you can rebut when your turn comes. The GDP base year was changed to 2010-11 after Narendra Modi took over in 2014 because it was long overdue. And instead of using GDP at factor cost, we started using GDP at market prices as the methodology, which is what is widely used globally. What is GDP at market prices? It is nothing but GDP at factor cost plus product taxes minus product subsidies. So this is a very comprehensive definition which includes the output of the country, it includes the impact of taxes, it includes the impact of subsidies. So anybody sitting here and saying that GDP at market prices is a flawed methodology needs to have his credentials checked.
Okay, one very important measure, let me just tell you, and this is the Penn World Tables data. Now, Professor Mehrotra has not given us the source for his statistics, but I'm giving you mine. I am ending this debate on this.
Government data.
The Penn World Tables data reveals the rate of growth of productivity in India. Productivity, viewers, pre-2014 was 1.3%. Post-2014, it is 2.7%, more than double. What does this tell us? It reflects the several reforms that have been implemented by this government after 2014, and the higher growth perhaps stems from the higher productivity. Now, viewers, who is producing these goods and services? It must be individuals. I leave it at this, viewers. It's just a big data point I've left for you to ponder and chew over. I'm coming right back, viewers, on a very big story. Don't go away.